Welcome back to the CONVO Couch. I'm Fiorella Isabel, and today we have a very special guest with us today. This is Melissa Michelson.
Hello.
She has been here before. She's the president of the Feel the Burn Democratic Club. She's also involved in organizing for Bernie. She was a delegate for Bernie. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you. She's subbing in for Pasta, and we have a really great show. We are going to set some things straight today. There's been a lot of misinformation going around, as you know. And let's get started. So Tulsi announced officially via a live stream from Hawaii. And I had the opportunity to join several people online from media and from the movement to kind of talk about Tulsi, give facts, kind of, set some things straight, and just kind of lead up to her announcement. And she had hundreds of watch parties, and her speech was one of the most talked about things. It was one of the most intense parts of the whole thing. So let's take a moment to listen to some of her speech and what she said.
Okay, my yellow shirt is cool.
Aloha, I can't hear you. There we go. Thank you all so much for being here. It's a beautiful day in Hawaii. Growing up here in Hawaii, I loved swimming and surfing and having fun in this paradise that we are so fortunate to call home. But I gradually realized growing up that I was actually happiest when I was doing things for other people, doing things to protect our water, to protect our oceans, our land. I felt that this was a different kind of happiness than anything else I experienced when I was just thinking of myself. It was a deeper happiness that stayed with me anywhere that I went. I knew then that no matter what path I ended up choosing in my life, that I wanted service to be that foundation. I'm proud to serve our country as a soldier. I'm a major in the Army National Guard, where I've served for the last 15 years. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to serve the people of Hawaii in so many ways over the years. In the state legislature, where I was elected at 21, serving over 100,000 people in the Honolulu City Council, and now, for over the last 6 years, serving in Congress. Thank you for your trust and your aloha. I'm truly grateful. Our nation was founded on the principle that our government should be of the people, by the people, and for the people, where all people are treated equally and with respect in these United States of America. But today, that vision seems like a far-off dream, where hatred and divisiveness have cast a dark shadow across our country. We're being torn apart by powerful, self-serving politicians and greedy corporations, people fomenting hatred, bigotry, and fear, inciting conflict between us because of the color of our skin, the way that we worship, or the political party we might belong to. This corruption of spirit is driven by greed and selfishness, and it is eroding the very fabric of our society and democracy itself. This is not who we are, America. The very best of our nation is exemplified by our nation's veterans, who embody what it means to put service above self. who've sacrificed their own personal interests out of a greater love for our people and our country. Because love is not just a feeling. It's a powerful force, a force that drives us to act, to put service above self. And our men and women in uniform, generation after generation, motivated by love for one another and for our country, have been willing to sacrifice everything for us. They don't just raise their hand and volunteer to serve only to fight for one religion but not another, to fight for people of one race but not another, people of one political party but not another. No. When we raise our right hand and volunteer to serve, we set aside our own interests to serve our country, to fight for all Americans. We serve as one, indivisible, united, unbreakable, united by this bond of love for each other and love for our country. It is this principle.
Awesome. So if you all have the chance, go ahead and watch. If you go to the 2-hour mark and from then on, it's about a 30-minute speech. It's really great. I have some tweets I'm going to show after, but at the same time Tulsi announced, there was a new slew of articles that came out basically just, again, bashing her, bringing up the Modi stuff, bringing up a lot of her donations, which we'll explain in a little bit. But none of them were as ridiculous as this NBC News article that came out labeling her as, you know, a Putin puppet, a Russian bot.
Typical.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the article. It says, Russia's propaganda machine discovers 2020 Democratic candidate Tulsi Gabbard. Experts who track websites and social media linked to Russia have seen stirrings of a possible campaign of support from Hawaii Democrat Tulsi Gabbard. What do you think about this, Melissa?
It's like another smear job, like hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it's right on time. I mean, it's just a matter of time, and you know, they're going to be going after Bernie.
Exactly.
Yeah, full-fledged.
Exactly, and they're basically flat out saying that the Russian propaganda machine that tried to influence the 2016 US elections is promoting Tulsi Gabbard, who declared her intention to run for president. They're saying all of this as a fact when it's actually supposition, when they're actually just going off of hearsay. And they list several experts who track websites and social media linked to the Kremlin have also seen what they believe may be first stirrings of an upcoming Russian campaign to support Gabbard. So now the Russian
stirrings.
Ooh.
Like,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
But she announced on January 11th there have been at least 25 stories, they say, from 3 major Moscow-based English language websites affiliated or supportive of the Russian government, RT, and the Russian-owned TV outlet Sputnik News, a radio outlet, and a Russia Insider, a blog that experts say closely follows the Kremlin line, and the CIA, who we should obviously trust with all of our, minds and hearts, has also called RT and Sputnik part of the Russian state-run propaganda machine.
I wonder how many other outlets in the rest of the world covered this. I mean, it says that there have been 3 major Moscow-based. What about the rest of the goddamn world?
Yeah. It's just like a lot. You can just see it in the language. It's just, they're just outing themselves. Like, this is just... RT is not Russian propaganda. I mean, they actually have legitimate journalists who literally left places like CNN, NBC, because they couldn't tell the truth. They couldn't do their jobs, so they left, and now they're working at RT. And apparently, because all these sites celebrated Gabbard's announcement and defended her positions on Russia in 2017 and meeting with Assad, that she is a pawn for Moscow now too, not just an Assad apologist, not just an Islamist, anti-Islamophobe, but also a Moscow Russian bot. It's just ridiculous, and it's more than ridiculous. I think it's gross because
gross. That's a great word. That should be like put in big red letters. Gross.
The manipulation of this narrative and people and putting it on every news outlet, and NBC having the lack of journalism, the lack of integrity to actually like even post this, because we're gonna show you how wrong this is, how flat out lie.
I'm actually getting really confused. Who exactly is being accused of being with Russia? Is it Trump? Because I thought 2 weeks ago and for the past 2 years, he's been like Trump, Russia, Russia, Trump.
Yeah.
And so now the same people that are upset or the same people that are accusing Trump of being with Russia are jumping on this band. I mean, I'm
just
so
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I can't keep track of all the propaganda.
So just because they covered her favorably, well, let me tell you why they covered her favorably. They covered her favorably because she wasn't one of the people that automatically jumped on the Russian bandwagon that said, okay, yeah, Russia's at fault for Donald Trump. You know, she says, yes, absolutely, we should have election integrity, but maybe we should stop meddling in other elections. That's one of the reasons why they don't like her, right? Because she did say that. So obviously, yes, they're going to speak favorably of her because she's also trying not to go to war with Russia, unlike the majority of the Democratic establishment, as you know. And that's why they've been mentioning her. They say, oh, well, she was mentioned on 3 sites, twice as often as 2 of the best-known Democratic possibilities of 2020, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, each with only 10 stories. By the way, neither Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders have announced, so obviously they're not going to mention them as much, number one. And again, also, even Bernie is more on the, the line as far as Russia. So she's been a lot more bold on her stance, we need to look inward in our election integrity than even Bernie has. But Bernie hasn't even announced yet. So obviously that's why you're not going to see his name or Biden's name there. And then what they did say, which is ridiculous, is her promulgation of positions comparable with Russian geostrategic interests can help them mainstream such discussion in the Democratic Party, said Alex Stamos, a former chief security officer at Facebook, now on Facebook, and now an NBC News analyst. GABBARD, said Stamos, helped them with all their lines of attack. So she's not just like a puppet. She's like helping them with their lines of attack. You guys, this is.
Do we know where Alex Stamos came from before he was chief security officer at Facebook?
No, actually, I'm not sure.
I wonder if he came from the Democratic Party or like Hillary Clinton campaign or something.
Yeah, maybe that'd be something to look into. But obviously, the whole Facebook thing isn't even trustworthy because we know. And
so wait, let me get this straight. A guy from the social media, well, I don't know, there's different social media, but this Bail Corporation, Facebook, he now is working for NBC News. I mean, right there is something to be concerned about. And I question, and I've always questioned NBC News.
Right.
Yeah.
And they gave themselves away basically by saying that GABBARD's most controversial position and the one where she's most in line with Russian interests is on Syria. She accused the U.S. of pushing a policy of regime change wars, and in January 2017, she met with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in Syria on what she called a fact-finding mission. So they're basically saying that she's pro-Russia and she's, with Putin because she's trying to avoid war and because she called out a regime change. They're basically telling you that anybody who calls out regime change is a Russian bot.
I appreciate fact-finding missions. What is wrong with going after some facts before you act?
Why is that supposed to be a negative thing? You see how they're like psychologically spinning it so you think that? This tweet here by Caroline Orr. Tulsi Gabbard announced today that she intends to run for president in 2020. So Alt U.S. Press Sec and I announced today that we intend to figure out how a rep from Hawaii turned into Assad's biggest cheerleader so much more.
Oh my God.
Consider helping if you can. Thanks all. Like this is of course another attack. And I'm just gonna go right into the fact that all of this was destroyed inevitably by Glenn Greenwald in The Intercept. He did an amazing thing. He's awesome. And he responded, and he basically set the record straight. He said, while a previous Intercept, well, basically, if you guys saw the previous Intercept article by a different writer on how, you know, Tulsi is Islamophobe, etc., there was a little bit of bias there. But Glenn Greenwald called this disgusting propaganda. He said, experts who track websites and social media linked to Russia have seen stirrings of possible campaign support for Hawaii Democratic Tulsi Gabbard. That's what the original article said. But he says the whole story was a sham. The only expert cited by NBC in support of its key claim was the firm New Knowledge.
Oh, boy.
That just got caught. They got caught by the New York Times, who isn't always our best friend, fabricating Russian troll accounts on behalf of the Democratic Party in the Alabama Senate race to manufacture false accusations that the Kremlin was interfering in that election. There you go.
Bad news right there. New Knowledge.
New Knowledge.
Yeah. How can NBC be citing New Knowledge? That
it's already been defunct. It's already been proven, you know, false.
Did they take it down, or are they going to issue some kind of correction, or
as far as I
know, another article?
Done any of that?
Oh my God!
They concealed that they acted like this article was real journalism, but it was actually fraud. New Knowledge was caught just 6 weeks ago engaging in the massive scam to create this fictitious Russian troll account on Facebook and Twitter in order to claim that the Kremlin was working to defeat the Senate nominee Doug Jones in Alabama. And the New York Times exposed the scam and quoted New Knowledge report that we orchestrated an elaborate false flag operation that planted the idea that the Roy Moore campaign was amplified on social media by Russian bots. So
did this Stamos guy? Obviously, the Stamos guy knew New Knowledge.
Apparently,
I mean, he's the chief. What was he? The
he
chief
claimed
organizer?
he didn't know. That's what he claimed. He claimed
Wow.
he had no idea.
And he did a shitty job in his work at Facebook.
Right, which I don't buy. I I feel like they didn't care, or either that or he's that much of an idiot to be in the position he's in and really not do his research. So the fraud was overseen by New Research CEO Jonathan Morgan, who also claims he didn't know. At the same time, Morgan was also fabricating Russian troll accounts and using them to create a fraudulent appearance that Putin was trying to defeat the Democratic Senate candidate. So basically, all of the entire article is based on a lie that was fabricated and was already proven to be false. So therefore, it is literally like, what do you call it?
Propaganda.
Libelous propaganda. It's fake. And so, yeah.
I mean, and how many millions of people have seen that? And now how many millions are thinking along these lines?
Exactly. And so that's why it's our job to set the record straight, to actually, you know, tell you guys the truth, because a lot of these things people don't have time to research. They take it at, you know, word value, and it's just entirely false. So, and we have this graphic of what, you know, like the trending topics on the Russian trolls. That's Hamilton 68 are taking an interest in the Alabama Senate race. So all of this is just entirely false. So
now I have another, I don't know if you want me to bring that up now, but I have this other, like last night, for example, at a kind of meeting with progressives, we were talking about Tulsi Gabbard. And we said, well, what if Bernie doesn't run, and what should we do? And someone said, well, you know, for sure Tulsi Gabbard is out because I would never support her because, and he brought up the article of the Intercept smear piece entitled Tulsi Gabbard is a rising progressive star despite her support for Hindu nationalists. So she's got the Hindu nationalists, she's got the Russians, or like, you know, whatever they can peg on her. But so we talked about that a little bit, kind of like Joe Rogan when he was talking to the New York Times, what's her name? The New York Times journalist.
I forget her name, but she had no idea what she was talking about.
Right. So we were there and we were asking, like, well, where are you getting this information? He's like, oh, the Intercept. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what does it say and why? And, you know, and at a certain point, he just kind of fizzled and he's like, well, I got to look it up. I'm like, okay, we'll look it up. So we looked it up. And my friend Todd went in there and he wrote a thing about how to identify smear pieces. So Todd, if you're listening out there, if you could just post it in there. But
shout out to Todd.
Yeah. So Todd, there were these 3 points that he brought up. Guilt by association. That's one of the main factors. Like in a way to identify a smear piece is to look to see if they're doing the straw man argument fallacy. It's kind of a way of argumentation that is not sound. Because she has some connection with Modi, and Modi is actually, she doesn't have a connection with, but because people are putting connections together, therefore, and Modi is bad, therefore she's bad. So you need to really question, that kind of association, really what kind of association she has. Second point is that smear pieces treat others' opinions as newsworthy or as facts. And so they just keep putting in opinions, and pretty soon people think that, they forget that it was an opinion and they assume that that was what actually happened. And then finally, smear pieces they don't present the opposite argument. Like journalism, you're supposed to present both sides.
Exactly.
And this particular piece is an editorial, even though it doesn't say editorial. So that's, yeah, exactly. That's another major red flag. But they present the information incoherently or incompetently, or they just briefly mention the opposite, but the rest is one-sided. Exactly. So just everybody be careful.
Try to make sure to take a look at that. And like here we have a graphic of all of by Michael Tracy. It's a tweet. Look at all these pieces that were put out against Tulsi Gabbard within the day she announced, and even before she, when she had her, official announcement, but even prior, there have been a lot of attacks on her. Kamala Harris was met with a entirely different thing. And what has Tulsi been doing that would cause all of this? Well, let's look at her tweets. She's talked about the heightening tensions with Russia and China are sending us into a new Cold War. We need to be stepping up nuclear non-proliferation agreements and not rolling them back. Trump's actions threaten our national security and the future of our planet. She's also said we must stand against powerful politicians from both parties who sit on ivory towers, thinking up new wars to wage and new places for people to die, wasting trillions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of lives, undermining our economy and security, and destroying our middle class. She said all of this, too, in her speech.
She's basically taking on the military-industrial complex.
Exactly.
And they are going after her.
And they are. And she's a veteran, and she's still serving. And by the way, she also thanked Glenn Greenwald for exposing the fraud, and she said, but more important is their motive to smear any adversary of the establishment wing of the Democratic Party, whether or not the left or the right, as a stooge or asset of the Kremlin. And that's extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Because, like she said, we're in a new Cold War right now. And she said, this is the final one that she said that is like intense. As commander-in-chief, I will work to end the new Cold War, nuclear arms race, and slide into nuclear war. That is why the neo-con and neo-lib warmongers, yes, she said those words, will do anything to stop me. There you go. She's saying neocon and neo-lib. She's identifying the people who are actually attacking her.
Yeah.
And, and we've seen a lot of policing, like, don't call someone a neocon, don't call someone a neo-lib. If the shoe fits, the shoe fits. I mean, how are we going to identify these people? Obviously we can explain the situation, but it's like that's what she's doing. And
identify and fight back.
Exactly.
Identify and not be afraid of the ramifications, just like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Exactly. And so let me just mention Modi real quick, because there's a lot of people that have met with him and haven't met up with the same attacks. We see Obama, Trump, we see Clintons, we see Bush, and then we also have Zuck, our very own Zuck, meeting with him as well. And Kamala Harris. I welcome Indian PM Prime Minister Modi to the United States and reaffirm the unbreakable bonds between our two nations. So why is it Tulsi being singled out for being like the only one, to meet with him, and somehow she's now a Hindu nationalist, and somehow, she's giving preference? I mean, she's literally going there to talk about the same thing she did with Assad, and she's still this kind of, threat. And it's just the way they're vilifying her is gross.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Kamala.
Back to the word gross.
Yeah, back to that word, because I don't know what other word to use, like disgusting, Kamala. So unlike Tulsi, Kamala was greeted with a CNN town hall, thank you Time Warner, and a plethora of favorable articles, and that is until we dig deeper. On the last show, we went over every single thing with every single link from this account called Kamala. That account was deleted, taken down by Twitter for trolling.
I see.
They said that was trolling, just posting links about everything she's pretty much done against, pretty much people, and specifically
Isn't
people
that
of
called
color.
Censorship?
Exactly. And once you censor anybody, even if you don't like them, it has a domino effect. You can censor everybody else. And so who owns Twitter? Well, we have a chart here of the people who own Twitter. These are all the Evan Williams, and is director and co-founder, and then there's a CEO of several companies that own Twitter. It's basically just broken down into all these CEOs who obviously are not going to be necessarily having the same mindset as the plebeians. And so they also said that they were going to crack down, since the whole Russia thing and Donald Trump being promoted by Twitter, that they were going to crack down on this. So apart from all of that, we are also seeing that Nick Pacilio, who was the communications director at Twitter and former press secretary of Kamala Harris. I mean, you're going to tell me that he had absolutely no weight in that situation. You're going to tell me that he had, that there's no relation to that.
Don't trust it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, if these people, it's about influence. It's about whose narrative,
And I wonder, I mean, what other outlets are discussing these connections?
Yeah.
You've gone to the trouble to put this together and share with the public these connections so they can make up their own minds. But otherwise, where are people supposed to get this information?
Right. Nowhere, because nobody's obviously it's just nobody's talking about this. But if you go on my Facebook profile, I reposted every single link as well, so you guys can look at that. And before we move on, here's a pic of Netanyahu with Kamala Harris, and nobody has really talked about that. He met with Senator Kamala Harris, and he said, "We discussed the potential for deepening cooperation in water management, agriculture, cybersecurity, and more. I expressed my deep appreciation for America's commitment to Israel's security." So there you go. Netanyahu, I feel, is more of a threat than any of the other people that they were saying Tulsi met with. And that is something that, hasn't even...
And those are her exact words, right? Those were
Yes.
Kamala Harris's exact words.
Yes.
Where are Tulsi Gabbard's exact words about her support for these, evildoers?
Yes, exactly. And another person that's been found, being pro-Israel is Elizabeth Warren. She sounds like Netanyahu. Again, Glenn Greenwald, thank you again for the work you do, because this is awesome. She was asked about her views on the attack on Gaza on July 17th, and she literally ran away without answering. And she eventually said that as a conservative Democratic Senate candidates from red states such as Nebraska's Bob Kerrey were vehemently condemning the threat of war against Iran during campaigns, Warren was claiming, contrary to the U.S. government's own assessment, that Iran is pursuing nuclear weapons, adding, "I support a strong sanctions against Iran and believe that the United States must also continue to take leadership role in pushing other countries to implement strong sanctions as well." And she also said that that basically we need to look at Israel's interests, that Israel has the right to attack. And she eventually said that the way that she was framing it was that if Israel and Hamas is attacking people, then Israel has if Hamas is attacking the Israeli people, they're using the civilians in order to get what they want. So it's okay for Israel to attack the civilians, which is something to me that is basically saying, oh yeah, I'm okay with, the state of Israel killing these innocent people because of whatever she's pretty much claiming the same thing Hillary Clinton did, the same thing Netanyahu, and I'm not saying that, Israel can't exist. That's not what we're saying. But she's saying it in a way that's just very warmongering. Yeah. And that's not someone that
where you can use force to not just, protect your own internal area, but to actually go out and get what you want.
Yeah, she said, I think the vote was right, and I'll tell you why I think the vote was right. America has a very special relationship with Israel. Israel lives in a very dangerous part of the world, and a part of the world where there aren't that many liberal democracies and democracies that are controlled by the rule of law. And we very much need an ally in that part of the world.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That means force is okay, and we need
Right.
to be their friends.
Pretty much.
Wow.
And no, that definitely takes her off my list.
It's only a matter of time before the media veers their direction, steers course, and goes directly towards her. You know, right now they're dealing with Tulsi, and pretty soon they'll start, getting on her. And
I hope
I don't
so,
know if she
because
can
they're
beat
kind
Trump.
of- I don't think she can. I don't think anybody can, even Tulsi. I think, Bernie is the only one. And I think Tulsi, it's great. It's going to be great to have her and Bernie there because they're truly the only progressives there. And I hope she gets a lot of the vote. I think a lot of the backlash is there to kind of bring her down, to push other candidates up. And even Kamala, as a possible VP, that's ludicrous to me.
Yeah,
So
no, that's not going to happen.
I wanted to
Or
go
it might.
ahead and...
Who knows? Like a year and a half, we might be.
I know.
We're on
a time crunch,
Yeah.
but I wanted to talk to you about your Organizing for Bernie efforts and the impending announcement with Bernie.
Yeah. We're working on, when I say we, I wear different hats, but in Feel the Burn Democratic Club, we're trying to kind of lay low for a little bit and see what Bernie does, because we are Feel the Burn Democratic Club and we are based off of his mission. So once he announces when and if he does, then we'll steer into action. But the other thing that I'm working on is Organizing for Bernie, and you can go on. Let me look at my website. Oops. Anybody can go there and let's see. Just look up Organizing for Bernie. So this is a group that's been kind of encouraging Bernie Sanders to run. I'm sure you've heard of it. But they've been doing a couple of events leading up to today. Is that picture up? Is that picture up already?
Yeah, we have a picture of the group Organizing for Bernie.
Okay.
And then
we had like a house party. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a house party. That's me in the yellow vest. We had an organizing kind of session with the National Organizing for Bernie group. It was live streamed, and we had house parties all across the state. So it was great to debrief and kind of get ready for Bernie. And then 2 weeks later, or maybe it was a week later, there was another Organizing for Bernie event where people went out and kind of started gathering more signatures and support for Bernie. Bernie wants to see what the landscape is and come out of the gate running. I think it feels like almost galloping. So if anybody is interested, and like last night at this meeting I was at, someone said, well, I'm not going to host an event for Bernie. He hasn't even, announced yet. But they're watching, the campaign is watching, and this is all good stuff for when he does announce. So I'd recommend it.
And he's going to announce, and we have a graph of what it looked like in 2016.
Yeah, that was... I took a picture of my computer screen back when we were doing Bernie events, and so there were a lot of events happening at that time.
A lot of
yeah, and then I don't know if you have the more local ones, but you just get an idea of the LA County area. Wow. I think the red circles were Bernie's speeches. So I think he had some speeches.
They were. I went to this one.
Yeah,
the San Bernardino one. I went that one.
Yeah. So just remember that when and if he starts up, we need to, all get on board if you want to get on board, and check this website for what you can do.
Yeah, and I think he, it's smart of him. Actually, someone mentioned that if he announced first, everybody would take his ideas. And I think it's actually smart that he's waiting a little bit to announce. And you've also spoken about the progressive movement being super divided, and you kind of have like this little chart over here that's kind of just so people can look at it of the spectrum, the ideological spectrum of progressives, and where we are, which is this isn't to box anyone in, by the way. It's just kind of like to have some people need visuals of where we're at, because a lot of us feel like if we don't come together, if we don't have an end goal in sight, it's going to be very difficult to beat the establishment when we're fighting amongst each other. So
yeah, it's not meant to offend anybody. And if you're not for Bernie, or if you're not for Tulsi, and you're also a hardcore never sell out progressive, which is on the far right, it's okay. But this was an effort that some progressives and I put together, and just talking about where we're at here in Los Angeles, maybe California progressives. Yeah. I shared it with a progressive friend in Chicago. She's like, no, we don't have that. I'm like, all right. But yeah, just we started off kind of whole, and then we kind of started splintering a little bit, and yeah, just we need to keep track of where we're standing, because things change, and maybe some people are now not with us as we thought before.
And and just closing up, I do want to point out one thing that I'm seeing as far as the definition of progressive that you have here. It's really hard for me to solidify that, you think it would be likely that Bernie would pick Kamala as a VP. First of all, we're not there yet. Second of all, Kamala is the furthest one away from Bernie. Before Kamala, it would be Warren, and before Warren, it would be Tulsi, and before maybe Tulsi would be Nina, or Stacey Abrams' name has been thrown out, and Barbara Lee. Kamala is the antithesis of Bernie. There's no way he would pick her. So lot of people.
She's a corporate dem in disguise. She's progressive.
Hillary 2.0 in a way, far more than anybody else, far more than Elizabeth Warren. And the thing is, a lot of people are, not attacking her, or not even criticizing her, because they're saying, well, maybe she's being, groomed to be Bernie's VP, and we don't want to, mess up those relations. Bullshit. She should be criticized like any other candidate. You don't know. Nobody has any kind of certainty that that's going to happen. And we shouldn't even be going there as progressives, whatever you want to consider that. Because the moment we go there, that's how they're going to try to manipulate you. That it seems like a co-opt manipulation to me. It's not just about getting Bernie elected. It's about getting him elected with integrity and getting him to represent people. Because if he goes up there and he has no power, it's not going to do us any good. So it's very important we're fair, and we do criticize her fairly, of course, just like we criticize every other candidate out there.
Now, this weekend, if anybody wants to check Lauren Steiner's video, she and other progressive activists were out there in Beverly Hills in the rain, and educating all the high donors that were going into this very expensive, I don't know if it was X thousands dollars, right? a plate, but it was obviously a donor party, which was happening in Beverly Hills, and Kamala Harris showed up. And so this is, like you said, Hillary 2.0.
Yeah, absolutely.
She did that, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
One more thing about progressive and the definition of progressive. What's sparking this right now in progressive circles here is that during the ADEMS elections, we've seen a lot of corporate Democrats and established Democrats, politicians, all using that term, progressive.
Right.
And you go to these elections, and you're handed a flyer. It says, we're progressive. And then you hand another group, we're progressive. Well, what's the difference? So Feel the Burn Democratic Club is, I don't know if you know, but we have Feel the Burn Democratic Club is LA County wide. And then there's also a new one called Orange County Feel the Burn Democratic Club. And there's another one, Riverside. So we've got the 3 counties on lockdown.
Nice.
So we're going to see if we can put together a kind of a statement about what it means to be progressive. But we'll see. We're developing that. If anybody has ideas, feel free to post on Feel the Burn Democratic Club, LA, Facebook.
Yeah, or post in the comments what you guys think should happen, because I think it's fair to define it, because you're right. A lot of that word has been taken by the establishment and co-opted. So now all of them have been saying, oh, I'm a progressive. And now it has no meaning, because what's progressive to us is not going to be the same thing that's progressive to someone else. So we do have to define it then.
And it's not dividing the party.
No.
The
party is divided.
Don't feel gaslighted that when they start saying, we're all Democrats. Well, no, we're not.
Bernie's not a Democrat, and he acts more like a Democrat, than other people. And Tulsi has always been talking to the other side, just like Bernie, reaching across the aisle, being able to talk to people regardless of their party affiliation, which is something the liberal left that I like to call won't do. They just won't do. They just want to remain in their echo chamber and just say like, we're right, we're right, we're right. And that's not going to get us anywhere. And that's going to get us Trump reelected. So,
yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is the Democratic Party is divided. So accept it, look at it, see why that's happened, and then move on. And if you don't accept it and you start to want to close your eyes and stick your head in the sand, we are going to get Trump elected again.
Exactly. And just make sure, like Melissa said, to be keen on looking for smear stories and what they, recognize what they look like and the bias in them, and do your own research as far as candidates. And by the way, bottom line, if NBC, mainstream media, the military industrial complex, and even like some Republicans are all attacking one person and they're all propping up other people, then that's actually probably a good candidate, because it's like the opposite. Like, it's just, they're not going to promote someone that is anti-war at all, like especially anti-war, and that's anti-corporation. Whether
it's Republican Party, Democratic Party, they're all concerned about their donors, and that's it. So it's almost like there's no point in having different parties. They're all protecting their donors.
Exactly. Thank you, Melissa, for being here.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate that we were able to get this done. If you guys have more questions, please let me know. And before we go, we have this this meme that James Elia put up with Bernie and you
take a close look.
Harris. I'm sorry, we had to put this one up. It makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of hilarious. That was a savage meme, James. Thank you for that. Made me laugh. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Convo out.